Look at your teeth right now. Not a quick glance. Really look. Are your gums sitting where they used to? Or do your teeth look a little longer than before? Maybe you already noticed it weeks ago and brushed it off. Maybe you noticed it months ago and told yourself it was nothing. Or maybe you've been staring at this exact thing in the mirror every single morning, quietly hoping it would just stop on its own. It won't, and that's the part nobody is actually telling you clearly. Gum recession doesn't pause. It doesn't take a break while you figure things out. It moves quietly, steadily, on its own schedule. And by the time most people take it seriously, more damage has already happened than they realize. But here's what I want you to understand right from the beginning. This is not hopeless. Not even close. There are people who were convinced they were on a one-way road toward losing their teeth who turned things around. Not because they found some miracle, but because they finally understood what was actually happening inside their mouth and made a few specific changes that actually mattered. That's exactly what this video is about. So if your gums have been bleeding, shrinking, hurting, or just not looking right for a while now, stay with me, because this next 15 minutes may be the most important thing you watch this year. Let's start with the thing almost everyone gets wrong. Most people assume gum recession is about not brushing enough. So what do? They brush harder. They brush longer. They scrub back and forth across the gum line like they're trying to remove rust. And that, right there, may be silently making everything worse. Here's the part that gets almost no attention. Your gum tissue is not like your teeth. Your teeth are covered in enamel, one of the hardest substances the human body produces. But your gums are soft tissue, delicate, living. And they are not designed to absorb the mechanical force of aggressive brushing day after day, year after year. When you use a medium or hard bristle toothbrush and scrub with pressure, you are not cleaning better. You are gradually wearing away the very tissue you are trying to protect. Think about what happens when you press your finger hard against the same spot on your skin every single day for years. Eventually, the skin changes. It thins. It shifts. The same principle is happening at your gum line. And what makes this so frustrating is that it happens painlessly. You feel nothing while it's happening. No alarm goes off. No obvious sign pops up. You just slowly, quietly lose gum tissue over years of doing something you genuinely thought was helping. That's the hidden cruelty of this particular problem. By the time you notice the gum sitting noticeably higher on one tooth, by the time you see that exposed root surface starting to show, the process has already been going on for a long time. And almost nobody is warning people about this. Now let's talk about what's happening underneath the surface. Because aggressive brushing isn't the only thing silently damaging your gums. There's another process happening that most people don't connect to their gum health at all. Inflammation. Your body is incredibly smart. When it detects a threat, it responds. And when bacteria and plaque are allowed to build up along the gum line, your immune system treats it like an invasion. It sends inflammatory signals. Blood flow increases. The tissue becomes swollen, irritated, and reactive. You've felt this. That puffiness around the gums. The tenderness when something presses against them. The bleeding that shows up every time you brush and you've been telling yourself, it's normal. It's not normal. Bleeding gums are one of the earliest signals your body sends to tell you that inflammation is building underneath the surface. And here's where things start to get more serious. When inflammation stays in the gum tissue long enough, it doesn't just sit there harmlessly. Over time, it may begin to affect the structures holding your teeth in place. The tissue starts to pull away slightly. Small gaps begin forming along the gum line. Bacteria work their way deeper into those spaces. That's when pockets form. And once those pockets exist, bacteria have a protected hiding place that your toothbrush cannot reach. They sit deeper. They multiply. The inflammation feeds on itself. And the recession continues. This is the cycle that destroys gum health over years. And the terrifying part? Most of it is happening completely out of sight. But wait, because there's something else going on that most people never connect to their gum health at all. And this one surprised a lot of people when they first heard it. Your mouth is not a separate system from the rest of your body. Whatever is happening inside your body, the stress you carry, the sleep you're losing, the food you're eating, the habits you've carried for decades, all of it shows up in your gum tissue eventually. Think about chronic stress for a moment. Stress raises certain hormone levels in the body that trigger inflammatory responses. Your immune system, which is supposed to be your protection, starts operating differently under chronic stress. And one of the places this shows up in surprising ways is the gum tissue. People under prolonged stress tend to have worse gum health. Not because they stopped brushing, but because their body's internal environment shifted in ways that made their gums more vulnerable. Now add poor sleep into that picture. Sleep is when the body repairs, when immune function resets, when tissue heals. People who consistently sleep badly are running their immune system on low battery every single day, and a compromised immune system has a harder time keeping bacterial activity around the gums under control. Then there's smoking. Almost everyone knows smoking is bad for the lungs. But what most people don't realize is that smoking may significantly reduce blood flow to the gum tissue. And gum tissue, like any tissue, needs circulation to stay healthy. When blood flow is restricted, healing slows. Damage accumulates, and the gums may begin to recede more aggressively over time. And here's something almost nobody talks about: dry mouth. Your saliva is one of the most powerful natural defenses your mouth has. It neutralizes acids. It washes away bacteria. It contains natural proteins that actively work against the harmful microorganisms living inside your mouth. When your mouth is dry, whether from certain medications, from not drinking enough water, from breathing through your mouth at night, from caffeine, from stress, all of that natural protection disappears, and bacteria that would normally be rinsed away and neutralized get to stay. They multiply. They build up along the gum line, and inflammation quietly intensifies underneath the surface you can't see. This is why some people brush perfectly every morning and evening, floss consistently, do everything they think they're supposed to do, and still find themselves losing the battle with their gums. Because the problem was never just about brushing. Now I want to stop for a moment. Because if you've made it this far, there's a good chance something in what I just said hit a little close to home. Maybe you recognized yourself in the stress piece. Maybe you already knew about the dry mouth, but never connected it to what's been happening with your gums. Maybe you've been a hard brusher your entire life and you're suddenly reconsidering everything you thought you knew about your oral hygiene routine. Whatever it is, that recognition matters. Because most people watching a video like this aren't here casually. They're here because something has been bothering them for a while, and they're hoping this time they'll finally find something that actually makes sense. So let me keep going. Let's talk about sugar. Because this one goes deeper than most people realize. When you eat sugar or highly processed carbohydrates, the bacteria living in your mouth have a feast. They consume that sugar and produce acid as a byproduct. That acid lowers the pH inside your mouth. And when the mouth becomes more acidic, it becomes a very different environment. In an acidic environment, harmful bacteria thrive. The balance shifts toward the organisms that cause the most damage to gum tissue. And over time, the constant exposure to that acidic, bacteria-rich environment may begin wearing away at your gum health in ways that compound slowly and silently. But here's something people rarely talk about. It's not just what you eat. It's how often you eat it. Every time you snack, every little bite throughout the day, you're resetting that acid cycle inside your mouth. You're giving bacteria fresh fuel. You're keeping the pH low for longer stretches of the day. People who graze constantly, who have something sweet with every coffee, who snack between every meal, are essentially keeping their mouth in a state where bacteria are continuously well fed and inflammation stays elevated. And all of that shows up in the gums. Now here's something that doesn't get nearly enough attention. Nighttime grinding. Millions of Americans grind or clench their teeth while they sleep, and most of them have absolutely no idea it's happening. They wake up. Their teeth feel fine. Maybe there's a little jaw stiffness. Maybe they've had a few headaches they blamed on other things, and they go about their day completely unaware that every night, while they're unconscious, they're putting enormous mechanical stress on their teeth and gums. Here's why this matters for gum recession specifically. The force generated by grinding is significant. It's not gentle pressure. It's repetitive, sustained, often intense force, applied to the same spots night after night, and the gum tissue surrounding the roots of those teeth absorbs some of that stress. Over time, that stress may contribute to the tissue pulling away. It may worsen recession in areas that are already vulnerable. And because it's happening during sleep, there's no pain signal to warn you. No feedback. Nothing to tell you to stop. Most people only discover they've been grinding after a dentist points to the wear patterns on their teeth, or after the recession has already progressed further than it should have. And if you live with chronic anxiety, if you carry a lot of tension in your jaw, if you wake up and your face feels tight, this is worth paying attention to. Let's talk about what the experience of gum recession actually feels like from the inside. Because there's an emotional side to this that almost nobody is talking about. It starts small. A tooth looks a little different. A cold drink stings in a way it never used to. You catch yourself running your tongue along the gum line and feeling something that doesn't feel quite right. And then comes the quiet dread. Because you know something is happening, but you don't know how serious it is. And part of you is afraid to find out. So you put it off. You tell yourself it's fine, that it's not getting worse, that you'll deal with it after the holidays, after things slow down at work, after the kids are back in school. And the weeks pass, the months pass, and you stop smiling as wide in photos. You avoid biting into certain foods because of the sensitivity. You brush more carefully, but feel less confident that what you're doing is actually helping. And in the back of your mind, that fear is still there. What if I'm heading toward losing my teeth? That fear is more common than most people admit, especially after 40. And it's real, and it deserves to be taken seriously instead of pushed aside. Because the gums don't just grow back on their own once the recession has progressed. The tissue that's already gone doesn't simply return because you started being more careful. That's the hard truth. But what many people don't realize, and this is the part that actually gives me hope to share with you, is that you can stop the progression. You can stabilize what's happening. You can create an environment where your gum tissue is no longer under constant attack, and you can do it in ways that are more accessible than most people expect. So let's talk about what actually helps. The first thing, and this sounds almost too simple but it matters enormously, is changing how you brush. Not whether you brush, how you brush. Soft bristled toothbrush. Not medium, not firm. Soft and gentle circular or angled strokes instead of aggressive horizontal scrubbing across the gum line. Your gums respond to being treated gently. When you stop assaulting them twice a day with force, the tissue has a chance to settle. The chronic irritation along the margin may begin to calm down, and the body can start doing what it's actually designed to do: maintain and support healthy tissue, instead of constantly reacting to mechanical damage. This one change alone has made a noticeable difference for many people. But there's more. Hydration is something that gets mentioned all the time for general health, but almost nobody connects it specifically to gum tissue. Here's the direct link. When you're dehydrated, saliva production drops. And when saliva production drops, the protective environment of your mouth breaks down. Bacteria that would normally be rinsed away accumulate along the gum line. Acids that would normally be neutralized linger longer. The tissue becomes more vulnerable. Many people are walking around in a mild state of dehydration for most of the day, especially older adults, who naturally experience a reduced sense of thirst even when the body needs more fluids. Simply drinking more water throughout the day, particularly between meals and before bed, may help support healthier saliva production and keep the oral environment more balanced. This isn't a dramatic intervention, but it's the kind of consistent habit that compounds over time. Now let's talk about something that more and more people are paying attention to: the connection between what you eat and what happens to your gum tissue. Chronic inflammation is the underlying engine of gum recession, and diet is one of the most powerful inputs that either feeds inflammation or helps quiet it. Foods high in processed sugar, refined carbohydrates, seed oils. These may contribute to a systemic inflammatory environment that shows up in vulnerable tissue throughout the body, including the gums. On the other side, foods rich in natural antioxidants, healthy fats, vitamins that support tissue integrity. These may help the body maintain the kind of internal environment where gum tissue is better supported. Vitamin C specifically has been studied in connection with gum health for decades. It plays a role in collagen production, and gum tissue depends on collagen for its structure and integrity. People who are consistently low in vitamin C may find their gum tissue more fragile and more prone to bleeding and recession over time. This isn't about following some extreme diet. It's about recognizing that every meal either contributes to inflammation or helps reduce it. And your gums are keeping score whether you realize it or not. Here's something that's worth sitting with for a moment. A lot of people feel embarrassed about their gum health. They're embarrassed at the dentist when the hygienist announces the depth of their pockets out loud. They're embarrassed when they catch themselves covering their mouth when they laugh. They feel shame around something that has been silently developing for years, often through a combination of factors that were never fully explained to them. Nobody sat them down at 45 and said, "Here's what's about to happen to your gum tissue if you keep doing what you've been doing. Here are the specific daily habits that are going to cost you. Here's what you need to pay attention to." Most people just get to the dentist, get told things aren't great, get a cleaning, and leave without really understanding what's driving the problem or what to actually change. And so nothing changes, and the recession continues. If that sounds familiar to you, if you've been in that loop, I want you to know you're not alone in this. And more importantly, you're not stuck. Let's talk about oil pulling for a moment, because this practice has been around for centuries, and the modern oral health community is paying increasing attention to it. The basic concept is simple. You swish a tablespoon of coconut oil through your teeth and around your gums for several minutes before brushing in the morning. The oil is thought to help pull bacteria and debris from between the teeth and along the gum line, and coconut oil specifically contains certain naturally occurring compounds that may have mild antibacterial properties. Many people who have added this to their morning routine report that their gums feel different within a few weeks. Less irritated, less puffy, less prone to bleeding. It's not a cure. It's not going to reverse years of recession overnight. But as part of a broader commitment to supporting gum health consistently, it's something a lot of people have found genuinely helpful. And it takes less than 10 minutes. There's one more thing I want to address before we get toward the end of this video. And it's the delay, the waiting, the "I'll deal with this soon" that turns into months and then quietly turns into years. Here's the honest reality of gum recession. Every month you wait, the starting point gets harder to work from. Not impossible, but harder. The tissue that's already receded doesn't grow back on its own. Once it's gone past a certain point, restoring it may require professional procedures that are uncomfortable and expensive. And those procedures still require that you address the underlying causes. Otherwise, the recession continues even after intervention. But here's the flip side. If you're watching this video and you still have tissue to protect, even if it's already started to recede, you have something to work with. You have the ability to stop the momentum, to change the environment inside your mouth, to give your gum tissue a fighting chance instead of continuing the same habits that got you here. And the people who act now, who make these changes consistently starting this week, are the ones who look back in 6 months and say they wish they'd done it sooner, because they'll see the difference. Less bleeding, less sensitivity, gums that look more stable in the mirror, more confidence when they smile. That's what's on the other side of taking this seriously. So let me leave you with this. Your gums are telling you something right now. The bleeding is a message. The sensitivity is a message. The way your gums look in the mirror this morning was a message. The question is whether you're going to listen. Not next month. Not after the next dentist appointment. Now. Because the body responds when you finally start working with it instead of against it. And even small consistent changes, done every single day, have a way of compounding into results that surprise people who were convinced they'd already waited too long. You haven't. There is still time. But the window doesn't stay open forever. If you want to explore natural ways that many people are using to support healthier gums from home, there's more information available in the link below this video. A lot of people in situations similar to yours have found it genuinely useful. Not as a magic fix, but as a real starting point for doing something different. And if any part of what I shared in this video felt personal to you, if you recognized yourself in any of it, drop a comment below and tell me when you first started noticing changes in your gums. You'd be surprised how many people are out there right now, watching this same video, feeling the exact same thing you're feeling. Quietly worried, quietly hoping, and finally ready to do something about it.